Howard's going to be on our podcast. That's pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
Okay, but will he answer?
Hey, we are having a slight podcast emergency. Do you have like 5 minutes that you could come back and check out this audio situation?
Are you in the studio?
I'm in the recording studio.
The audio recording area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll come back there.
Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Weatherman, we can't allow any further delay. So stop your waiting.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. This is episode 90. Today is Wednesday, February 21st. I'm meteorologist Jeff Orgeron, joined by Camila Ortiz. Hey Camila.
Good morning.
And Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson. Hey Mark.
Good morning, everybody.
Guys, we had some hefty showers out there this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't look at the radar yet. I just woke up.
I put a nice loop on Twitter X. You can check it out, Mark.
Formerly known as X.
Did they?
Twitter.
Well,
Yep.
They must have stopped. Well, is it? Yeah, they stopped, right?
Well, showers,
Slow
you know
down.
how they go.
Yeah. On and off. I get it.
Throw rugs, not wall-to-wall carpeting.
I feel like it's going to be a silly, goofy energy kind of podcast today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what folks don't know is we spent like a half hour figuring out our sound issues.
Yeah.
So now we're wide awake.
We all blamed, well, initially the blame was on me, then I blamed Mark, but it
was
actually
actually
was
me.
all Camilla's fault. Yeah,
I know.
So,
Yeah.
Didn't I blame my wife at one point too?
You did.
Now
Like
I'm
we
gonna have to
really,
retract that.
we cast a wide net with this one.
Okay.
Right.
What
Back
is
on
the
track.
plan for today? Yeah, we've got some good stuff that we're going to be talking about. We're going to do a checkup on El Nino, see how the boy is doing. We're going to check his temperature.
What?
You know what I mean.
Oh, El Nino. I get it. Okay.
Come on. Yeah, no, we're getting some signs that we may be exiting an El Nino pattern. We'll talk more about that coming up. Our mild February continues, so we're going to go over some of the temperatures, and we'll also take a look at some of the water year numbers, a checkup on that.
Exciting.
We're entering, yeah, extremely exciting. Yeah.
What isn't here?
Right. We're also going to go over a cooler pattern that's going to be setting up Sunday into Tuesday-ish. Significantly lower snow levels.
Oh.
Major mountain snow on the way. That should improve some of the numbers in terms of the Oregon mountain snowpack. And we'll kind of brush on the potential for some lowland snow. It's not looking great, but there is a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
There always is.
He's saying there's a chance.
Little Lloyd Christmas action there. And then we'll also talk about some late season snow stats. You know, every day that goes by as we inch towards spring, the chances of lowland snow are dwindling. This is Mark's favorite subject. He's getting closer to the fork. Right?
Yep. It's getting close.
It's about time because I don't think last
getting
year you didn't use the fork, did you?
I didn't use the fork because what
He was
was the
traumatized.
issue?
Because the year before, Mark went on
he got
vacation.
burned.
Yeah.
He took the fork and showed it everywhere.
Got
and then,
burned by the fork.
I don't remember where you went.
Flashed
But you
it around.
went somewhere warm, and then we got snow in April, and everybody
Yeah.
blamed Mark. And so the next year, he didn't bring out the fork because he didn't want people to get mad at him.
Yeah.
Right. It was La Nina years are tough because I think we kept having close calls in early March last year. And once we hit early March, I don't remember what the issue was. I'll admit, it's far enough back in time. We can talk about it now.
Yeah.
I was partly traumatized by that, but I really we can talk about this later, but I got tired of people saying, it snowed in April, it's still winter. It's like, well, that's not winter. If it's hot in May, is it summer?
Yeah.
If it snows in November, is it winter? No, it's late fall and it snowed.
Yeah.
So there.
This is definitely a Markism or like pushing Mark's buttons.
An issue.
Yeah.
Pushing my buttons, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
Let's not get into that. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, well, let's move on.
We'll get to
Yeah,
it.
let's move on. Yeah. We struck a chord. Let's talk about El Nino here. Okay, so obviously we are in an El Nino phase. But last week we touched on NOAA, I think, issuing a La Nina watch.
There is a La Nina watch out officially for this summer.
Okay, so Mark has some of the ONI numbers in front of us. By the way, for those that are not watching the podcast, that are listening in the car or, in the yard, wherever you listen, there are a lot of numbers on the screen. Mark is really going to help to break those down. So go ahead, Mark.
So this is just historical El Nino and La Nina episodes categorized by the Oceanic Niño Index, which is a 3-month running mean of sea surface temperature anomalies in the Central Pacific, tropical Pacific. And anytime you have a minimum of 5 consecutive overlapping seasons, so basically each of those, let's just go to this. The most current one is with my pretty arrow. I tried to squeeze in the blue arrow there. You're going to see more of these mark annotations, folks, so hang on. November, December, January, the 3-month average was a plus 2.0, which is the plus 2.0. That means that's in the strong El Nino category. If you get 5 of these overlapping seasons, can you see my cursor? I think you can, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is considered an El Nino episode. All right. If it's just 2, let's see. Are there some here that are? Is there one that plus? Oh, here. In this year, 2019, 2020, that was almost El Nino. The positive numbers are when we're in El Nino. The negative are La Nina. And in 2019, 2020, see, there was a plus 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 4. If there would have been one more, that would have been categorized as a El Nino winter, which just tells you a lot of this is kind of man-made, the thresholds, So, but it was not. But
well, wait, hold on. I have a question. So, I mean, I'm seeing 5 positive numbers in a row, but do they have to be above a certain threshold?
0.5.
Oh, 0.5. Okay, got it.
0.5 or minus 0.5, like here with La Nina.
Got it.
Yeah. So they have to be. So what if Noah would have made the threshold 0.4?
Yeah.
So you can see how it's like, wait, was 2019, 2020 an El Nino or not? Well, only because it almost was an El Nino. So we have to remember that. But notice it's very strong, but it's beginning to weaken. And here are model predictions. Just for comparison, this is that 3.4 area in the Central Pacific that is often used for the categorization of the Oceanic Niño Index. 0 is just perfectly normal, about average. Once you get above plus 0.5 up in here, this is actually a forecast from this point forward. Up in here is El Nino. Down in here is La Nina, observed over here, forecast over here. And this is many different models from mid-February here. In fact, this is pretty fresh information. Notice all models in general bring us back into neutral territory heading into late spring. And most of them bring us into La Nina or neutral heading into late summer and fall. All right? So another way to break that down from NOAA, their official ENSO probabilities, which is El Nino Southern Oscillation. It's this oscillation, back and forth in the southern oceans. But you can see how the blue, which is La Nina, the chance of La Nina does go up dramatically as we head into summer and then summer into fall. And the chance of El Nino coming back after this appears to be minute. You see the red.
Hey, Mark.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about this way back when on the podcast, and I can't remember exactly when it is, but these long-range computer models, don't they have a blind spot at a certain time of year?
Right. The spring forecast barrier, which is pretty much from like now through May or June. There is a known issue. There's a problem with the transition from spring into summer. But it's interesting that all models are showing pretty much the same thing. So we do have to be careful in the springtime. I mean, starting now through June, you know how it's showing a strong La Nina. Maybe in the end, it's only a neutral year coming up next fall and winter.
Well, and that is probably why this is very likely why this is a La Nina watch. I mean, it's obviously very early, but similar to weather, if we were to see the possibility of snow coming to the Cascades, significant snow, the Weather Service would issue a winter weather watch as opposed to a winter storm warning. So eventually, once the confidence grows, then they'll upgrade that to a La Nina warning.
They will.
Right? La Nina advisory.
Notice that now these categorizations only go back to 2011 here, this chart. I can't show it all, on a graphic, but they detailed numbers go all the way back to 1950. And what's most common is when we often go from El Nino straight back to a La Nina. I don't think there are as many years like this one where we go from El Nino one winter to a neutral year the next year. So it would not be a surprise if we go back into a La Nina. Excuse me. It's early. So that's kind of the plan. How does that affect our springtime? NOAA thinks there's a decent chance that March, April, May on average will be above average. Greater chances we're going to be above average than below, and greater chance for a little drier than normal spring as opposed to a wetter than normal spring. This doesn't mean just because it's the red, that doesn't mean, oh my gosh, it's going to be a hot April and May. That just means there are greater chances that it'll be warmer than normal than below normal.
Right.
Whereas La Nina springs tend to kind of drag on colder, whether they're dry or not or wet. They tend to be colder. So this is probably one of those years where there's a lesser chance of I remember this is a clear one. In the Hood River Valley, the big fruit growing region where the blossoms come out in April, La Nina years are bad. There's a better chance for frost in those years. That can kill the blossoms if it's cold enough. In El Nino springs, it seems to be a lesser chance of that happening.
But at the same time, this could also mean that if we have a healthy snowpack in March, April, May, we could see it diminish quickly if we do end up seeing, significant heat early in the season. So
true. Yeah. So that's your El Nino checkup. So we may be headed towards La Nina next year. As for summer, people will say, how does this affect our summer? I think there's very little positive correlation with El Ninos and La Ninas in summertime, as far as I'm aware, watching it all these years.
That being said, I think considering we're in this El Nino, I think for months now, climate scientists have been predicting that 2024 would be the warmest on record.
Yeah. I mean, the whole planet's pretty warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
pretty warm. Very warm. Yeah.
All right. We are now 3 weeks into February. We're recording this on the 21st, so we technically haven't seen how today will exactly play out, but it's showery. We're probably going to end up in the low 50s. Here's a look at a list of the high temperatures so far through the 20th, and you can see that we're seeing more red on the graphic than blue. And I love this graphic. The red line that you're seeing here tells you roughly where our high temperature should be, and the blue line indicates roughly where the low temperature should be. And I mean, you guys, what are the first things that jump out to you when you look at this?
Oh, this is like when Professor Jeff says to the class, Camila, like, what do you see? What's interesting here? And you wonder if you're going to see the same interesting thing that he sees. So, Camila, you go first.
Yeah.
You're always like the student that was probably right in front of the class.
Oh, you're actually right. Yeah, you got me on that one.
I was in the back, lazy.
I was raising my hand for everything. Huge nerd. Definitely seeing tons of warmer than average high temperatures and low temperatures. Those are significantly higher for the most part than that blue line too.
Look at those lows. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And how many frosts? One.
Yeah. 31.
That's pretty amazing in midwinter. I mean, El Nino winters, though, that's pretty classic. Just not much freezing at night.
Right.
Everybody
I see a cat. There's a cat back there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know how they talk to the birds, and I can kind of hear him. Hopefully,
Actually,
it's not coming through.
Did he meow earlier? I think I did hear him.
He did. He's needy. He's like a dog. I shouldn't have looked at him because now at least he doesn't bark.
Sorry, that was my bad. I was like, something's moving back there.
I did. This is important. You know, if you listen to our podcast, I only listen to it because I just listen to it on the way to work. Of course, we have the video form that Jeff has mentioned. You know, it's better to watch it for all these graphics, and you can watch it online or on YouTube. Weather page, kptv.com/weather. But I noticed when I listened to it the last few weeks, do you guys hear that? There's like a squeaking, like a little squeaking noise. And I'm like, what is that? And I finally realized it was my chair, my office chair. So I've switched the chair and I'm trying to absorb any movement in my torso so that I do not make any squeaks.
You need some lumbar support, better posture.
I've been working on the core. So the cat is gone now and it's not squeaking, hopefully. So we're going to be all good. So we can continue on.
Good. I decided to bring in some water year graphics. So for review, water year starts October 1st and it lasts until September 30th. And this just gives us an idea of how we're doing in terms of total precipitation. And I pulled the numbers for Portland and for Salem. And I think at the last check, which was a month or so ago, the numbers were doing really well. I think we were over 6 inches in a surplus for Portland. We're now down to about 5.5, 5 3/4 of an inch. So we're doing really well still. That being said, February has been slightly below normal by this time in the month. And in Salem, we're seeing the surplus of about 2 inches since the start of the water year. So,
you know, there's always concern in El Nino winters that we're going to be below normal on precipitation. They tend to be, on average, warmer than normal, which has happened, and drier than normal. But I think we mentioned this back in the fall with all those El Nino graphics that strong El Ninos, we tend to get a little more of that subtropical jet more often over us. I remember this from several past El Ninos, and we can be wetter than normal in an El Nino year, just warm and wet, which is what we've had.
Perhaps wetter than normal and not seeing a great snowpack with higher snow levels predominantly in the wintertime. That can happen.
Right.
So we're entering this cooler and wet pattern, certainly starting Sunday into Monday, but it looks like we could have another wave coming in Tuesday into Wednesday. Right now, by the way, guys, our first alert weather day for the Cascades is set up for Monday. I almost moved it to Tuesday. I'm going to let you guys kind of see how the afternoon models play out, morning and afternoon models. And we may switch those. I think between the general messages between Sunday and Wednesday, a lot of snow is coming to the Cascades, and we're going to have a much lower snow level. And one of my favorite graphics are winter forecasting rules here. It kind of highlights when we're certain days out, what kind of details we should be getting from our computer model outputs. So when we were in the 7 to 10 day window, we were seeing something's up in the extended outlook. Something colder is coming. We can clearly see lower snow levels. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out. Now that we're in that 5 to 7 day window, it looks like it's going to be more of an onshore flow event as opposed to this cold, frigid east wind coming through the gorge and freezing our surfaces. And with more of that onshore flow and low snow level type of pattern, this reminds me a lot of late winter, early spring, wet snow, wintry mix type of deals in the lowlands.
I agree.
Are we showing?
I can count.
Are we showing any sort of jet stream? I don't want to get ahead of any graphics.
Camila, of course we are.
Okay, I'll wait then. I'll wait.
This is really fun because Camila, Camila, we're recording this on Wednesday morning. This is your Monday, more or less, because in TV everybody has different days off. So you haven't really looked at anything. So you're coming in fresh. So we're going to educate you here.
I'm coming in cold. Yeah,
cold,
yeah.
right.
This will be fun to see what I saw on Sunday compared to now.
Slightly out of order, but that'll work.
Well, I just almost left this out. I was thinking we've showed the snowpack quite a bit lately, and the big message was that our snowpack was below normal across most of the state of Oregon and certainly up into Washington. But
looks pretty good.
Things have improved quite a bit in the past week. And considering the snow forecast for the Cascades Sunday through Wednesday, those numbers are going to be so much different when we record our podcast next week, which will be fun to kind of compare and contrast. So
add in next week and looks good. Okay, here we go, Camila. Requested.
Oh, good, thank you.
What I don't have, I didn't do the moving 500 millibar map, which I prefer, but it just I thought this would show it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's probably better.
This is from last night's Euro because I was working, later. Right now we have kind of this splittish flow. This is at 500 millibars, so it's 18,000 feet. We're not way up at jet stream level, really, but it shows the flow. And the kind of the polar jet, the real cold stuff is up to our north. And so we've got this little upper level low offshore. Or this is for Friday. So this is there's an upper level low that's going to drop down towards California. So this splitty flow, not much is happening. We got some nice weather. Jeff, did you have to add more clouds maybe into Friday?
So what I did was
I was concerned.
No, Thursday kept about as normal. Friday kept the 60. Saturday, I think we're going to clear out Friday afternoon at about 60. With the clear skies going into Saturday night, I'm worried about an inversion and some fog forming and temperatures falling into the 30s. So I did drop the high for Saturday down to 58. Don't hate me, Mark.
No, but I was the one that raised it and maybe shouldn't have. We'll see. We can, you don't worry about it. You go home and Camila and I will take things out. We'll take things over for this afternoon and we'll let you know. You'll find out tomorrow morning when you show up what we did.
Okay.
Wait,
no, you're going to text me what happened. I know you're going to, I'll check the email too.
Yeah, I know. As soon as you wake up from your afternoon nap, you're checking that email.
Oh, man.
Although, you know what, Camila, I have noticed since Jeff had his daughter, he's not checking in as often. It's almost like he's kind of busy.
It's like he's busy, doing other things.
And I'm not napping as often either.
I bet. Next 12 years.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so then this is Monday, and you see finally, for the first time in quite a long time, we have what I would call like a full latitude trough coming through. It's not a splitting trough. It's a nice dip in the jet stream, and that's right over us on Monday. That's our coolest atmosphere right in there, which we'll cover in more detail in a moment.
You know what you didn't know, Camila, was full latitude troughs was Mark's band name in high school.
Right.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Jeez.
Full latitude
Thanks.
troughs.
Full
Yeah.
out of trough, no splitty mark. Okay, so that's the trough coming through Monday. Now, Jeff, I did notice, I did glance since I got up early enough. I did look at the Morning Canadian and GFS. They seem to be heading a little more towards this sort of thing. That the next one, maybe middle of next week, latter part of next week, 28th, 29th, may not come directly over us. It maybe wants to dig, which makes me wonder if there's some El Nino stuff going on there too. Whereas we get closer to it, another one is.
Wait, hold that thought, Camilla.
Okay.
When you see that pattern right there, what is the first thing you think of? Is there anything that like immediately go for
But
it?
this is also different. Go back to the other one. You were showing us a different day.
Yeah,
This is Monday next week,
Yeah.
and then 3 days later, Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So that first trough Monday has gone back to the east.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
But
And
like,
the thing over western Alaska has dug down kind of
Yeah.
offshore like that.
Right. But we kind of have
What is she supposed to see?
a little ridge over us.
yeah, and what I see, correct me if I'm wrong, this kind of
do
pattern
you see?
tends to bring in a lot of moisture, that southwest flow, and we could end up with an atmospheric river pointed somewhere into the Pacific
agree.
Northwest and high snow levels again.
Yeah,
I
because we're getting
agree.
that flow right from the ocean, from the southwest.
I'm kind of thinking the same thing, Jeff. The different versions, the last 2 days of different modeling, there's either going to be probably a cold atmospheric river or a warmish one at some point, Wednesday and beyond. What I did notice compared to yesterday, when I looked at those 12Z maps, they're really, at one point it was looking like Tuesday we're going to go into solid precipitation Tuesday. I had that on the forecast last night. It looks like maybe things might slow down as they kind of dig offshore a little bit, and Tuesday may not have much precipitation. That's why I was thinking about that cascade.
Yeah, I backed off. I just added, I have mixed showers both Monday morning and Tuesday morning. Similar days playing out, maybe even drier Tuesday than previously.
That's what I'm
anticipated.
thinking.
Yeah.
If you look at the morning stuff, it looks pretty. And actually, the Euro. You know what's the? I don't know if we talked about this last week. I get so excited about this. The Euro ensemble. The Euro ensemble control run, which goes out to 15 days, is more or less the Euro operational model. And I guess in the future that they consider those two pretty much the same thing. So it's okay now to look at the control run. The 6Z, the control run goes out 6 days. So the 18Z and 6Z Euro, you can look at that control run. That's more or less the Euro out to 6 days. And I did notice, I just looked at it, of course, this morning just before we got on this call. And I noticed it's pretty dry on Tuesday. It's just got a scattered shower or two Tuesday like those other models. So maybe we're headed towards a lot of showers Monday and kind of chilly. But then Tuesday, it's like, leftover shower or two and partly cloudy in advance of a lot of precip coming in Wednesday and Thursday of next week, the last 2 days of the month,
And
maybe.
let's rephrase what Mark just said. So I think what's going to play out is
In English?
Sunday. Yeah. A wave of rain is going to come in Sunday. It's going to cool down between Sunday and Monday. Significant drop in snow levels are expected, down to about 1,000 feet by Monday morning. So when you're waking up Monday morning, we could have at least a wintry mix, if not wet snow at times falling in our local hills. And heavier showers could bring that snow level even lower. But during the day, temperatures in the 40s, we should be fine. So that cool, showery pattern carries potentially into Tuesday. And then sometime between Wednesday, Thursday, even Friday, we might be flipping completely to like a higher snow level, maybe an atmospheric river, like significant rain pointed at somewhere in the Pacific Northwest. It's hard to say exactly where.
And when I say cold atmospheric river, snow level might only come up to 4,000 feet instead of a 8,000 foot snow level.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Look
Hopefully.
at this, the Euro, the next 15 days, this was the 0Z. There's a lot of precipitation between now through the first week of March. Mm-hmm. It's wet. It's turning wet. Get your dry weather stuff done Friday and Saturday. I think that's a big message. That's what I'm thinking out here on the farm.
Yeah.
Not really a farm, but yeah. That's wet. Very wet stuff. Okay, hey, Jeff, I did this one. Oh,
No,
you
I-
labeled it for me.
I removed yours, and I
Come on.
No, actually, the only reason I did it was because you had, I think, 0Z GFS. I just wanted to bring in the 6Z GFS, but I
I
copied
get
yours.
it.
Yeah.
So you improved on it. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Camila, I drew the yellow line, which doesn't appear to be a straight line. So,
Pretty close.
What this is, this shows the temperature up at 5,000 feet Celsius. We use 850 millibars quite a bit. And Jeff, he added the new 6Z GFS, the ensemble average, which we like when we look at snow levels and whatnot. We kind of want to look at averages to see how the models are trending. And the lower line is, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, lower line, I was going for about -7 at 850.
Yeah.
Somebody just finished cooking something. I hear the microwave.
That was our coffee machine. Apologies.
Oh, no, you should have lots of coffee. It's good. Memorable moments. So the lower line basically is, hey, -7 at 850. That's kind of on onshore flow. That's kind of our cutoff for like, okay, snow could stick at the lowest elevations, maybe. If I don't see it down to -6 to -7 with onshore flow, I don't even care. If I see a -5, ain't going to happen. Isn't going to happen, I should say, in the lowest elevation. So you notice there's really only one time in there where the average dips, and Jeff has it highlighted there Monday and Tuesday. If there's precipitation around, of course. And then the higher yellow line is for snow at pass elevations, which most of the time in the next 2 weeks, that's the GFS. Most of the time in the next 2 weeks, the snow level is below that higher line.
Most of the time, yeah. And then
look at the Euro was even colder
Exactly.
with the upper, it says mostly Cascade snow, not Cascade rain over the next 2 weeks. So we'll see. This could be a huge kind of, like Jeff alluded to, good base building event here at the end of this El Nino winter.
skiing, snowboarding, or no, spring. What am I saying? Spring skiing,
Ski skiing.
Ski skiing. Okay, let's pretend like I didn't say that. All right, moving on.
We'll talk about model resolution and why sometimes we say the crappy GFS. I mean, yeah, I think the GFS has issues sometimes, but part of it is the resolution of the model. And the model isn't doing anything necessarily wrong. So I grabbed these last night. So it's last night's run of the GFS, the ensemble average snowfall. And this just shows the difference in resolution. So you just kind of look at the big picture and the same view, same time. This is 24-hour snow. I'm sorry, it's total snow ending Monday afternoon. So we've had the big surge Sunday and Monday, and I guess it added 1 or 2 inches, 3 inches we have up there today. So look at the GFS and look at the valley. It's like, oh my gosh, 1 to 2 inches in the valley by Monday afternoon, right? Whoops, sorry. Wait, they're 2 different resolution.
One was the you pulled in the ensemble, so that's the GFS ensemble. This is the Euro ensemble.
Yeah, you know what? They're both the same view, but I messed up the map. But anyway, it's fine. But then you look at the GFS is 25 kilometer resolution on those ensembles. 25 kilometer. That means there's a grid point every 25 kilometers. How many miles is that? Somebody calculate that quickly.
Well, 10K is 6.1, so it'd be like 15, something like that.
So 15 miles. That means there's a dot like on each side of the metro area, or one in the middle, and the next one is in the foothills around us. So that's the problem there. So it's just there aren't as many dots. So to draw a snow map like this, a contour map, you're going to see those heavier snow totals in the Cascades bleed down into the lowlands on a map. That's how it appears on a lower resolution model. So again, notice the Cascades. What does it have there? I don't know, 12 to 18 inches maybe by Monday afternoon. Look, the Euro has about the same by Monday afternoon, but in the Cascades. So they're both forecasting more or less the same thing, but with the higher resolution, then those big numbers don't bleed down into the lowlands. The Euro ensemble resolution is 9 kilometers, which is much better. So they're both thinking the same thing, but lower resolution on one, it's going to look much rougher on the maps. That's why you should be careful. I doubt 2.6 inches of snow is going to fall in Portland by Monday afternoon.
Yeah.
Remember, would you rather watch the Super Bowl on a 90s Fox TV, or would you rather watch it on a brand new 1080p Smart TV, 50-inch? You're going to see more detail with the newer TV as opposed to the older TV.
Yeah. Which is why the GFS looked so scary on Sunday, because I was seeing this trend with that trough, and I was like, oh, silly GFS.
Yes.
Take that with a grain of salt.
And we can rip on it, but it's like it's okay most times. But you just have to be really cognizant of that. Or keep in mind also when you have the lower resolution model data, that means the terrain has purposely at a lower resolution as well. You can't have higher resolution terrain than you have the model resolution, because like if it can't see the Columbia River Gorge because the points are 15, I mean it doesn't, because it's got the grid points. You can't have a grid point, go down into the gorge and come back up between the grid. That doesn't happen. So,
would you guys agree there are things that the GFS is useful for? I would say extended medium to long range temperature outlooks. on a global scale or a regional scale, like synoptic. But if we're looking at microclimates with snow totals,
Yeah.
using
Be careful.
the GFS, I mean, we have better models for that purpose. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
At some
usually
future-
reference GFS for like general trends, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And at some point, if they increase that resolution, the ensemble resolution from 25 to 10 kilometers, then it should look a lot better, even if the model's performing just the same. So, and the Euro used to be lower resolution. The ensembles used to be 18 kilometers, and now this year you can see that just changed in the last year or so. We just have better detail farther out in time. Oops. Okay, then this one. This is kind of a newer one. A thought here. This is the Euro forecast through Wednesday morning. And you can kind of see in the valleys, pretty much nothing. By the way, Longview always looks like more snow up there because the terrain, it can't see that dip in the Columbia River Valley right there very well. Pretty much, I think the terrain is probably up around 1,000 feet or so in that area, right? I wish we could see model terrain. Somebody could send us like a digital file of that. That'd be pretty interesting. But I've always noticed it always looks like that just up to our north. So this is the Euro, total snow through Wednesday morning. But then if you go to this Kuchera ratio, that looks much better. That looks like reality to me. Notice how the Cascades aren't much different. I mean, there's a same time, same model, just a different way of calculating snowfall totals. That looks more reasonable to me, not just because I don't want snow, but see how it pushes the snow right up against the mountains better? Look at Portland and Troutdale.
And look at the coast range differences, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, the coast is significant too.
That seems kind of low to me at the coast. Only 2 to 3 inches? I think that's unlikely.
You mean the coast range?
Coast range, I should say. I do like how it doesn't bleed the coast range snow
Into the actual,
coastline.
yeah.
Yeah.
But as long as we know this, that's as forecasters, we can adjust in our heads for this. Kuchera, I guess it's named after a gentleman, and he purposely did that for marginal snow situations when they're producing too much snow. When it's like 33, 34 degrees. So, yeah,
and
it can be useful.
The 10-to-1 ratio always takes a 10-to-1 ratio between liquid water and snow, correct?
Mm-hmm. And it does something with the lowest elevation temperature, too. The Kuchera adjusts for that, which in our climate is critical in this mild onshore flow. Yeah. So there you go.
And I think like the general message here is don't expect a frozen frozen event. Let me rephrase that. Don't expect a frozen metro early next week. Don't expect a widespread sticking snow. But if you see snow flying in the sky, don't be surprised either, because we're going to see a snow level down to 1,000 feet, give or take 500 feet, and with a heavy shower, that could temporarily lower the snow level even more.
Right. Don't fixate too much on the exact elevation. I don't want to go into a rant now because we'll run too long. But basically, when we say 1,000 feet, that we're averaging that.
Yeah.
It might heavy shower might come down to 500 feet. You get an inch of snow somehow, somewhere.
Yeah.
Or it stays above 1,200 feet, and at 1,000 feet, all I get is a dusting here. That could happen Monday too.
To say like the snow level is going to be at 1,300 feet, it doesn't help anybody. It just confuses people. So.
I've even seen 750 or like 1,200.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
So we are kind of in this window now where every day that goes by, our chances for sticking snow in the lowlands is dwindling because the sun angle is increasing. We're getting closer to spring and more spring-like patterns. And so Mark has kind of broken these odds down for us.
These are updated after the last 2 years as well. So, yeah, what you see is after February 10th, since 1941, that's when records began at the Portland Airport, I think the fall of 1940. How many years did we get 1 inch or more at the Portland Airport? Which is a low snow location. I'd say this is one of the least, I can't phrase it correctly, one of the lowest chances for snow in the metro area is at these lowest elevations, bottom of the Tualatin Valley, bottom of the Columbia River Valley. 16 times we've had 1 inch or more after February 10th. 9 times we've had 1 inch or more after February 20th, which we're recording this on the 21st. And after March 1st, only 4 times have we had an inch of snow. So that's a 5% chance. So by the time we get to next Friday, there's only a 5% chance of getting an inch of snow here in Portland. And I think we all remember the one time it snowed after March 9th. That was, remember 2 years ago, April 12th, 2022. 0.3 inch, I mean, that shows the elevation difference here. 0.3 inch at the airport, yet didn't the top of the West Hills have like 5 or 8 inches? That day I was on vacation.
Yeah, it was something like that. Mm-hmm.
And
So-
on that day, there was 2 inches downtown Portland.
So did the weather? I can't remember. Did the Weather Service record any measurable snow at the official site on the 11th, or is that just downtown?
Oh, yeah, I have it here. Next one. It was on the 11th. And oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. You know what? I just flubbed this whole thing up.
It's okay.
Dale.
It's okay.
This graphic just shows the latest that we've ever had, 0.3 inches. The day before, it was 1.6 inches.
That was the main event. Yeah.
That was the main event, and it was that morning. And actually, the 12th, I remember I argued with them about the 12th. That was like during a heavy shower.
Right.
That might have even been midday, like where it was hail and graupel.
Oh,
mixed
yeah,
in.
the kind of pellety stuff. Yeah.
It was like convective, where there's some heavy, because I think I argued with them, and they said, nope, we're counting that as snow. Because as I recall, it didn't get down to freezing even that day, the 12th. And then in this one, March 22nd, 2012, that in the Willamette Valley, I drove through that on the way to Reno for spring break, and there was like 5 to 7 inches of snow from Albany down to Eugene. It was crazy. It was really heavy, blindingly bright, even though it was cloudy driving through that stuff. The roads were mostly clear, but it was really heavy, wet snow. And then we drove out of it at Roseburg. It was south wind and like 45 degrees.
There goes Mark again, ditching town when it's starting
Every
to snow
time.
around
It's
spring break. Yeah.
It's like
I'm
clockwork.
getting out of here.
Yeah.
Like clockwork. So I guess the point here is it can snow late in the season. Oh, and by the way, you know what's not in the records? Last April, was it around the 10th or 12th? There was a morning snowfall. Those of you in Clark County, and I've seen the pictures and I looked at the observations. Some heavy showers passed through Clark County early morning. I think it was around the 11th or 12th, so 2023. And there was like a half inch to an inch or so from like Salmon Creek over to Battleground. I looked at the observations, and sure enough, it bottomed out at 33 degrees. But the airport never got below 37 that day. So it was localized, but there was some April snow in the middle of Clark County last April. So that was 2 years in a row. So forever, even if it doesn't do it again for 50 years, people will say, I remember when it snowed in April.
Yeah.
Don't tell me it's not going to snow, Nelson. You're making that up. It's not over till it's over.
Well, and it's tricky, right, because of all of our microclimates. Because like you said, Mark, the airport, that's a tricky spot to get snow, but there are other areas where it's a lot easier to get that snowfall in these marginal events.
True. And in these marginal events in spring, I mean, I'm up here at 1,000 feet. I'm not trying to sound elitist and snobby, but it's not unusual for me at all. I look back at the records in late March and early April. Most years there's at least a half inch or an inch, and then that afternoon it's 45 degrees.
Yeah.
I guess the main message of all of these is we've never had a frozen city situation with east wind where it stays below freezing. After about March 3rd in 1960, we had a snowstorm with east wind blowing. The city kind of shut down for 2 days. I looked up the obs. It was really cold. And the high, I think, was 29. Was it March 3rd? 1960? Yeah. And in all of these, then, a week later, it's 65 degrees. So it's not like winter continues. It's not like it's winter in April. I think both these last 2 years, we'd already hit 70. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
there will be some excitement out there, I'm sure, Sunday into Tuesday, sometime in between there. And the most exciting part is we're going to get a ton of snow in the Cascades, which is really good news. And looks
good
like
stuff.
March we have more wet weather and mountain snow likely coming as well. So can't wait to find out how much we get. We're going to be updating everybody on that around midweek of next week on our next episode of the Fox 12 Weather Podcast. But thanks for joining us this week. Enjoy these next few days of dry weather, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, before things turn colder and wetter, and we'll talk to you soon.
So stop your waiting and hesitating and tell us, please tell us